Good evening. Apologize for both my technical difficulties and my parking challenges. It's a good day to be together. I'm Tim Severin. I'm the Director of Sustainability and Social Mission for the Jesuit Parish Family and a member of the planning team for our Embracing God's Creation series. That's a collaborative effort of the Cincinnati Jesuit Works, including Bellarmine Chapel and St. Xavier Church, Xavier University, St. Xavier High School, the Jesuit Spiritual Center at Milford, and the newly formed Xavier Jesuit Academy. Our series is in its third year, and it's grounded in Laudato Si, Pope Francis's 2015 encyclical, and the Global Society of Jesus' 2019 Universal Apostolic Preference, number 4, Caring for Our Common Home. So thank you for being with us as we learn about Environmental Justice 101 from Sarah Kent, the Executive Director of Groundwork, Ohio River Valley. Before I introduce you further though, let's begin with prayer. This prayer comes from the end of Laudato Si. It's called A Prayer for Our Earth. So I just invite you to take a deep breath and ground yourself with God and God's deep love for you. All-powerful God, you are present in the whole universe and in the smallest of your creatures. You embrace with your tenderness all that exists. Pour out upon us the power of your love, that we may protect life and beauty. Fill us with peace, that we may live as brothers and sisters, harming no one. O God of the poor, help us to rescue the abandoned and forgotten of this earth, so precious in your eyes. Bring healing to our lives, that we may protect the world and not prey on it, that we may sow beauty, not pollution and destruction. Touch the hearts of those who look only for gain at the expense of the poor and the earth. Teach us to discover the worth of each thing, to be filled with awe and contemplation, to recognize that we are profoundly united with every creature as we journey towards your infinite light. We thank you for being with us each day. Encourage us, we pray, in our struggle for justice, love, and peace. Amen. So our plan this evening is for Sarah to share for around 45 minutes. Then we'll break into a small group discussion of what we learned, about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back for Q&A with Sarah. So let me introduce Sarah. She's currently the Executive Director for Groundwork, Ohio River Valley. Previously, she was the Outreach Manager for Great Parks Nature Center at the Summit, located in Roselawn. She's worked as a nature interpreter since 2008 in the form of the Nature Center Director in Colorado for the Boy Scouts, a high ropes course facilitator, and the garden manager on Orcas Island in Washington. She's led insect tours at a butterfly garden in Costa Rica and is the recipient of Cincinnati's 30 Under 30 Award, the National Recreation and Park Association's 30 Under 30 Award, National Association of Interpretation Outstanding New Interpreter Award, and has won awards for the creation of various programs here in our city. She was officially published in 2022 for her research on cicadas. She's also an artist, avid gardener, and forager, and enjoys Cincinnati's music and food scenes. Thanks for being with us, Sarah.
Thank you all for being here. Let me move this a little bit. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to try to move around a little bit more because I feel like you're all so far away. But I'll do my best because I also have to be able to press the button. My name is Sarah Kent. I'm the current Executive Director. I've been in my role for a total of like a month and a half. So when I'm talking about Groundwork, a lot of my references are coming from an outside version looking in, and we'll get into that eventually, but we were going to talk about what environmental justice is and then go into what groundwork is. I think when I think about environmental justice and what we do, we're a really good example. We're not perfect, and that's something to always remember, is that when you are working on something as nuanced and complicated as environmental justice, it's never going to be exactly how you planned, and sometimes there's going to be some hiccups along the way, and that's okay. But this is just a framework and example for you all to see our work, and then hopefully be inspired. And I have a little slide at the end of just like smaller ways that you as an individual can be involved in this work. So, what is environmental justice? This definition is a whole bunch of words, so I'm going to read this and then I'll break it down a little bit more. So it's a social movement that addresses injustices that occur in marginalized communities, environments, and that is in turn harming their basic human rights. So think about having access to food. Like, how far do you have to travel to get food? Do you have a garden nearby? Can you go and get groceries like on the bus line if you don't have a car? Does that take hours or does it take 10 minutes? Thinking also about clean air. Do the people in your community, I used to live in Winton Terrace, and I would get notifications on my phone saying that I couldn't go outside for that day because the air was horrible, and it was just a warning for people who are at higher risk. I have asthma, so I'm one of those people that's at a higher risk. If I go outside, I could have an asthmatic attack. So think about if you're in a community where they built a whole bunch of factories and things right next to your community, you might be breathing in some of that air. And then access to clean water. The simplest and most complicated definition and example I can think of is Flint, Michigan, that a lot of people have heard of, where you turn on the water and it can set fire. That's probably not a good thing. And everyone should have those basic human rights. When you're looking at things with an environmental injustice lens, your goals should always be to have the highest attainable environmental quality and health outcomes, and you want to be engaging in communities in a meaningful way. That means that if you're not from that community, you need to be pulling in people from that community to be giving their feedback. Because if you just go into a community and do something and the community doesn't know about it, are you really helping people? And we want to be transparent and, most importantly, being accountable. So if something happens to, say, like a community garden that you build in an area, you want to make sure that you are going back to check it or fix it, because maybe that community doesn't know how to fix it. And that's just a very basic example. But Groundwork ORV stands for Ohio River Valley. So we are doing work in northern Kentucky as well as in Cincinnati area. We say that it is where justice and the environment meet. So our goal is to reach people that were left behind in the environmental movement. A lot of our neighborhoods that we focus on are redlined communities, which means that when the city was planning on where to put people, a lot of the Black, brown, and poor people were just kind of shoved into kind of further away from the city center. So think of where 75 is, right? And then put next to places that like you wouldn't necessarily want to live. It's next to industrial places. If you are looking along the Mill Creek corridor, it's where those companies were dumping chemicals into the water, making the Mill Creek so polluted. Now there's efforts to clean up, there have been efforts to clean up the creek. You could actually go in and fish and enjoy the water now. It's not as bad as it was 20 years ago. And we, our national network of 21 trusts, So ORB is like one of the largest trusts in the US, and we hire the most youth. So you'll see a video in a second that kind of shows you what we're about, and I really wanted to capture some of the videos from our different programs so that way you could see the actual people that are on the ground making a difference. But this is the new conservation, so this is where I hope to see more people involved in, just trying to be involved in their communities and providing those resources for them. So this is our intro.
We are the green future. What does it take to make change? To change a place? To change a community? To change a mindset? Or to change a city? Even to change the world? Is it money? Is it ideas? Is it where you from? Is it a policy? Or is it love? Nah, change takes work. We are the new conservation. We get outside and hustle. We have fun. We change what conservation looks like. We are real. We are powerful. We are the green future. What does it take to make change? Groundwork. We are the green future. What does it take to make change?
I eventually will get this stuff. Okay, all right. We are youthful, purposeful, resourceful, kick butt hustle, transformational, and adventure seeking. This and the video that you just saw are ways that we can grab youth's attention, hopefully, to work for us. We employ about 300 youth, and we want them to know that they are the green future. So they are the ones that are empowering their communities to make a change. We'll get into that in a second, but some of our past community projects include all of these, plus more, and I'm not going to go into each individual thing, but a lot of these you can visit yourself. One of the coolest things that I've seen since I've started at Groundwork is the Euler Green Roof, which is on top of the Euler School in Lower Price Hill. They are able to provide food for families there, and they also are able to do like garden education for kids that are under 16. So we hire from 16 and up, but it's kind of like a pathway for them to hopefully be hired into a green field. We do a lot of invasive plant removal around the city. I have some numbers in the future slides that I'll show you. We do a lot of garden infrastructure, so we build beds, we help with like compost piles or compost bins. We do citywide litter pickup, and then we work in brown fields, which are considered like toxic, either where people have like poured something toxic into the ground or you can't plant there. There's lots of reasons why it can be considered a brown field, but the basic understanding is that you can not like you can't build there, you can't have a sustainable like living area in that area because it might be polluted, so we go and clean that up. So we are going to look at the Climate Conservation Corps first. This is actually kind of the top of our pathway if you're working for us, and it's once you've graduated high school, you could be, we don't have a cap on it yet, but the goal is to be in the Green Corps and learn as many things as possible to certify you in a way that you can like tie into your future work. So we will certify you on how to use a chainsaw, how to, when you remove invasive species, how to use pesticides, things like that, to make sure that you have all the qualifications needed to go into our park systems and then begin work in the professional level. And this one is the green team.
the Ohio River Valley Green Team is the largest green youth workforce in the nation. Most green teams primarily focus on invasive removal and trail work, along with just environmental education, primarily in urban setting of downtown Cincinnati.
My green team, we did a lot of outside work. We built benches, planted trees, and planted other plants. And overall, just kept the upkeep a little pricey. It was great.
I think the green team has helped me out a lot, like about being outside, learning more about it, having more people who I can talk to, reach out to, and they can help me out.
To build teamwork, friendships, to like help nature and let it grow and just be helpful to the community.
Groundwork does a really great job at like professional development. So they like to get us out of our comfort zones and explore things that we don't know.
Because for one, you're not sitting in a restaurant serving the people. For two, it's different thing every day. Like for me personally, like for my group, we probably never did the same thing because it was like always something different or something.
We get to do invasive removal. We get to ride bikes. We get to go interview other green team members. We get to do podcasts. I mean, we never know what the day's going to look like, but it's also fun.
Oh, I think people should join Green Team because it's just like such an amazing experience for the kids and for like the youth leaders too. You learn a lot about, not only about like the environment and like environmental issues that are going on in the world, but you learn how you can be a part of the solution.
It's like kind of hot outside and stuff like that. But besides that, it's really cool and you get like have a team and you can bond with people and you make new friends, stuff like that.
My favorite thing that we've done is definitely the water quality testing. It's really cool to get to see the state of the water that we live right by.
The benefits for it is for people to come here and like explore, and also for the ground teams to have like teamwork and like have like the opportunity to come and see how to do it and like tell other people that they made this.
I feel like you should just do it because most kids don't really be out in nature and stuff like that. So I feel like you should just do it and experience it. At least you should get the experience.
Every time I try to go to the next one, it replays. My favorite thing about that is one of the youth says, "It's outside, but it's okay." I'm like, yes, we're gonna be outside. But it's really important because a lot of these kids have not had a positive experience outside, and this is something that's really special and built into a way that they can have those experiences. So I lied to you before. I don't know, I think I mixed up one of my slides, but so we're talking about Green Team right now, which is ages 16 to 18, so they are in high school. We have a fall and spring cohort, which is after school, and then we have a summer cohort. The summer one is the one that edited that video, so it was made by the kids and they interviewed each other for that. I think it's really important that they're showing their peers how amazing and impactful this work can be. So as it says, we have the nation's largest youth green workforce, and it's something that I'm so proud to be working with them on. We hired 300 employees last year, and we always interview them before, during, and after to see how they feel just about environmental issues. So for a 16-year-old, it might be a little difficult to care about all of these environmental issues when they have high school going on. It's a lot for someone, it's a lot for me as an adult to think about all of these issues, right? But we do see an increase, and we are able to hopefully get them to come back and be there either in Green Team or join Green Corps or volunteer. One of the really awesome things that we do as well is we have them work for the National Park Service for a week. A lot of them have not been able to be on a plane before, so we'll send them out to Yellowstone for a week to work on trails. And it's really an awesome experience for them. The bottom quote is something that I think a lot of us do think about, which is, I think that environmental justice involves racial injustice. I think this because on Green Team, I work on climate resilience projects in my own neighborhood, where low-income people and people of color are a lot more likely to suffer from climate impacts. And that was a teenager who came to that conclusion. So some other metrics, we picked up over 1,000 pounds of trash this year. We've removed over 20 acres of invasive species due to our awesome partnerships in the city. We've maintained 4,000 feet of park trails, participated in 50 gardening activities, and accomplished 200 plus hours of professional development. So we do have them work on their resumes and like possible ways that they could enter the professional world, even if they're not seeking a green job. So then, if they would like to stay and they've been really active with Green Team, they can join our American Climate Corps. So they're a little bit older, but our goal is to get them to be able to enter in the professional job field. So our goal is to work up to that. The Green Corps just had a retreat, and my goal for them was to try and figure out like what did they see their jobs as, and what did they see for their future, and what do they want to work on. And their goal was to have the real world green job skills and focus on professionalism as well as the other things. But we try to make it as seamless as possible and also go for what is needed in their communities. So over the past year, they have planted over 1,000 native pollinator plants, planted over 200 trees in low-income neighborhoods, and that number is doubled because we just did a 200 tree planting in Avondale 2 weeks ago, partnered with Matt Tree and Cincinnati Parks. And that was also, as a side note, it was an actual day. So Denise Driehaus brought a proclamation. It was the largest tree planting in the city of Cincinnati, so that was very cool to be a part of. They've maintained 240 trees, built 2,444 feet of new hiking and mountain bike trails, replaced over 500 feet of boardwalk in national parks, and removed over 80 acres of invasive species. The Green Corps currently is at Indiana Dunes State Park, or National Park, sorry, and they're building fences for their trails. So this is one of the areas that they worked on. This is a playscape in Mount Washington. This is on the left is the before, and then during, and then that's the after. So they had a whole opening with kids, and the kids from the school next door can come and have like a learning space outside. This is some of the trails. This is actually a couple weeks ago in Yellowstone. Our team was out there and they were able to build the nice boardwalks that you can go see yourself if you want to. And then I think one of our most important programs is our Climate Safe Neighborhoods. The Climate Safe Neighborhoods work with Climate Advisory Council. So we try to go into these neighborhoods. We figure out which ones have been the most disenfranchised by Cincinnati, and we try to spread awareness and educate the residents in that community. But also we try to come up with, sorry, I walked away from the microphone. We try to come up with a plan for them, like with them. So we pay all the individual residents that are involved in our Climate Safe Neighborhoods plan. And then we go through and try to figure out like where could we put like green space, where could we have a garden, where could we plant trees, are there certain companies that are releasing too much carbon. So we'll do air quality testing, we do water quality testing. We want to make sure that that area is free of as much pollution as possible. And we will use GIS to identify our vulnerable neighborhoods. So this is an example of some of our mapping. If you're interested in exploring how your neighborhood scores on air quality, you can go to groundworkorg.org, and you can go through and you can select different filters. So you could see how many industrial areas are near your house, or is your area subjected to possible flooding because of our climate crisis? Things like that, where you can use that to leverage policy change, right? I kind of got ahead of myself, but climate safe neighborhoods goals are to explore and communicate the relationship between the climate crisis and institutionalized racism, support the capacity of residents to self-advocate for more equitable distribution of resources, develop and implement short-term mitigation measures for extreme heat and flooding, and impacts policy to prioritize equitable climate resiliency. So like I said, the community members are part of the entire plan, which is really important to us. Even after we implement aspects of the plan, that they still are able to hold on to it, and then attending the meeting, so they will meet once a week to come up with these plans. We've co-facilitated the creation of 11 neighborhood climate action plans with the climate advisory group model, and we host a lot of events related to climate change, equity, and environmental justice. 6 neighborhood climate action plans from climate advisory groups to be are accepted into the Green Cincinnati Plan, which is really exciting because that is policy change in the making. That's included in what is Cincinnati's current plan right now, and they'll be implementing those plans themselves. So as a smaller nonprofit, funding can be a challenge, but when the government is behind us, we're able to make a bigger impact, and that's so special. I'm gonna play this one, and then we'll skip over that.
And flooding, torrential rain,
The heat island effect.
diabetes, high blood pressure. I don't want to be 6 feet under before something actually happened. One of the most dynamic things I learned was that people in my community have a lower life expectancy just by virtue of where we live.
I've been in so many neighborhoods and didn't care because we was thug life in it. So, trash over here, drop the cigarette butt there.
We want to see small changes. That's what fuels us. Okay, we've got this done. Now let's go and do something else. Let's just keep the ball rolling.
No matter where you're from, no matter where you're located or based, a lot of these people somewhat share the same problem or understand the problem that they're having.
Climate change have showed me that we're not the only ones with the problem. It's a national problem.
We can talk about what's wrong with it all day. It's been wrong for the last 40 years. So what we gonna do about it?
Climate Safe Neighborhoods was able to give us more information about the neighborhood and give us help with strategies to address some of the problems.
I should at least help to try and make a little bit of a change, even if it's something real minor.
Communication is key. Without communication, you really can't get nothing done.
If it's something I can at least know that I impacted something in my community, I can walk away with a little bit of a smile.
I feel appreciated knowing that I'm doing something to make a change.
What climate safe neighborhood means to me is knowledge. It's the knowledge to improve, the knowledge to learn, the knowledge to make a change. It's really just the knowledge to make a difference.
I'm leaving a legacy for my children and my grandchildren. Yeah, I got great grandchildren. Yeah. I don't want them to have to be wondering, where home is. This is it.
It took me a minute, and then I went in my house and I seen the Cincinnati sign in my back window, and I was like, this is my home.
I feel good. I feel good about it and more invigorated to go on and see what else we can do for the community with what we have.
What Conversation Neighborhood means to me is equity. Because it means I have a purpose, a voice, and a place.
Overland flooding.
Every time. Yeah, so that you were able to hear from the South Clemensville group, and it's like amazing to see the impact, and then also see the continued work. We have worked alongside, we're only 5 years old, so rapidly growing, but we've been able to partner with so many amazing groups in Cincinnati that also see our vision, and that's been really meaningful for continuing our work. I'm going to maybe go back to this video because I might be running out of time, but we'll see. Or maybe it'll play, okay, great. So we have our green job pathways. So there's other opportunities to get involved with Groundwork specifically. You can join the Youth Environmental Council, which is ages 14 to 18. They're out there focusing, it's only meeting a couple times a month. So for youth, it's a little bit more accessible for them, especially if they have a lot going on at home and a lot in their social lives. But we do litter pickup days and composting education days, things like that, along with the ability to volunteer in your neighborhood by becoming a tree advocate, where you can adopt a tree and water trees throughout the year. You can become a youth leader apprentice, which is kind of for our green teams, we have, it's the youth, and then we have our youth leaders, which are usually lots of young people, so 18 to 25, and those are the ones that are in charge of that group. If the youth are interested in becoming a youth leader, they can become an apprentice first if they don't have that experience. And then Green Corps, which we talked about, it says ages 18 to 25, but we've had people who started at 22 and are still here. And we also have people that started a little bit later. We make a lot of exceptions that if you're from the communities that we're focused on and working in, we want you involved. And if that's your path and you're doing a great job, we want you to stay with us. You can become a youth leader assistant or a youth leader. And, wait, was this one? Okay, sorry. And that's with the green team as well. So it'll be with the youth, either assisting them or an actual youth leader. This is one of the murals that the kids did together. And then this is some of our branding. So it was really exciting for a lot of the teens to see their faces on our posters with their names signed the way that they wanted it to be signed. We try to include as much as possible from the community, which I feel like I keep saying, but it's true. We want them to be involved and feel like they're part of this, and that's where you'll see change. So we will go back to that video in a second, but here's some small ways that you can be involved. This is not the end-all be-all list. I just was thinking of some short ways that you could possibly see change. So the number one thing I always say is get involved in your community. It doesn't matter where you live. You can attend a community council meeting. You can be part of policy change. You can attend township meetings, or you can go down to City Hall. If you're more of the person that likes to stay inside or work with your hands, you can plant trees, you can plant gardens, you can involve yourself with a community garden. A lot of my community gardener friends there's a couple people who are like, I don't want to see anyone, I don't want to talk to anyone, so they'll call ahead and be like, hey, is anyone in the garden? And then they'll be able to go and work in the garden alone. So if that's more for you, like that's possible. You don't have to have a community garden plot, you can just go and help weed somebody else's garden. You can see if there is a need or problem and try to solve it. So something I noticed where I live in Mount Healthy. I don't have a sidewalk on my street, but I have a lot of neighbors that are elderly and like to walk. And one of the things that I'm working on right now is trying to get like either it repaved or just more accessible to have a sidewalk. It'll probably be repaved because it's more of like, it's kind of like a one-way road. It's not as busy, so I think that's why I didn't have a sidewalk in the first place. But just like noticing the things that maybe you could make life easier for people or more convenient. Another example of when I was working in Roselawn, we didn't really have like a lot of access to green space. So I worked with community members to partner with like 6 other organizations besides my own, and we were able to build, we had 200 volunteers come out, we built a community garden, we were able to plant plants around the neighborhood. We did like 4 murals, and we created a like a computer lab that kids could use for free and come in at any time, as long as the building was open, that they could come and use and learn how to do like media. And that was, yes, partnered with like a lot of other organizations, but it takes for you to do is ask, right? And yeah, you can always call your local politicians if you want to see policy change. So I'm always advocating for that. Alright, I think I'm gonna go ahead and skip the video, if that's okay. How are we on time?
Got time.
Okay, I'll go back and play the video and then we'll. This is one of our first tree plantings in Lower Price Hill.
Climate Safe Neighborhoods is changing the way we do engagement and environmental work in this city. We're so excited to start here in Lower Price Hill with our partners from the City of Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Park Board, the Cincinnati Park Board Foundation, and Mad Tree.
I'm really excited about this project. I know this team is really excited about this project too. This has been a project that's 2 years in the making. This is one of the neighborhoods with the lowest tree canopy coverage in our city.
You're not just planting a tree today. You're helping to reduce air pollution, you're helping to reduce asthma rates, you're helping to reduce stormwater runoff. You're part of a 2-year effort that we call Climate Safe Neighborhoods.
I always wanted, whatever I did in life, to have a positive impact on the lives of other people.
It's one small step at a time, and I think that this event is a really big precursor.
This is a year and some change later, or about a year later, and we're actually doing something here. We're planting those trees that you saw that there weren't enough of.
There's a great deal to be said about being able to do something that you love every day. We are addressing issues of justice, of conservation, of social equity, in everything we do.
My focus was never on climate, but it was always about climate.
Our purpose is to connect people to nature and each other, and this partnership does all of that. We get out with our whole team. Today we have 130 people probably from the Mad Tree and Outgrowth teams. They're out planting trees, getting rid of invasives, and working in a neighborhood that desperately needs tree canopy cover.
The Community Learning Center Institute facilitated the Lower Price Hill Resurgency Plan. One of the goals was to add to the tree canopy in the neighborhood, and so working with Groundwork, being able to plant these 70 trees means goal accomplished.
And so we feel like this is really gonna give us that bump that we need to get to that 25% canopy cover in the next 10 years or so.
Being able to increase the amount of canopy that we have both fulfills me with a lot of good in my heart as well as the community. The one quote that I always try to follow my career by is, society only grows great when old men plant trees, the shade of which they know they may never see.
For me, I feel like this Climate Safe Neighborhoods initiative is a national model for how we should be engaging our communities in order to get a more climate resilient city overall.
Just from watching the video for the 100th time, the thing that stands out to me is Marisha saying, "My focus was never on climate, but it's always about climate." So think about that as we begin or start from where you are doing this work, because everything kind of ties back to that, right? So, with that, if you have any questions, I know that there's a Q&A actually, so never mind on questions, but we're going to have Tim come back up here and instruct you all. Thank you all for having me.
So the instructions are pretty simple. Try to find someone you don't know, perhaps two people you don't know, and you turn to them. You have two questions here on this pink sheet you got when you came in. First is just, what did you hear today that impacted or interested you or surprised you? And the second is, how might you, or if you're coming from a faith community or institution that you're part of, how might that respond to the environmental justice issues we face? So just spend around 10 minutes discussing. I'll give a 1-minute warning, then we'll come back and do some Q&A and hear some responses from you all with Sarah. Thank you.
I'll go find some place.
Just 1 minute, so start thinking of your questions.
That way we're not like.
We're good there. I can invite people back. All right, invite you to come back to the big group here. We can do some Q&A with Sarah, share some reflections folks have. Who wants to go first?
That was really easy.
You shout your question.
I'm a teacher, so I can yell. I'm good. I'm just kind of curious with the Climate Safe Neighborhoods program, where does that get initiated? Like, where does it start where you have a group of citizens? I mean, does it start with the citizens? Does it start with Groundwork? Like, where does it start, and then how does it evolve from there?
Yeah, so the question was, how does Climate Safe Neighborhoods start? And it's a mixture. So it's definitely, we have people on our staff that live in the communities already, or like neighboring communities. So we have a like neighborhood liaison who attends all the community council meetings and is very present in all of the like things that are going on. So if there's a mural painting, the person I'm thinking of is like there at that mural painting, getting to know other community members, and she happens to live in that community. For communities that we don't have somebody stationed at, it is a lot of canvassing, so it's going around door to door with like posters, asking people if they want to be involved. We explain that we would pay them for their time and tell them like the future meeting dates, so they have all the information up front and they don't have to seek us out later. And then we have like our sign up period, and then we start the initial meeting space. So it depends, like for Covington, for example, we don't have anybody who lives in Covington. So we went door to door. We posted like posters on, we posted posters on like grocery stores, breweries, as many places as possible, trying to hone in on people who lived in that specific neighborhood. Yeah.
I noticed we have your GIS mapping. Do you work with any of the governmental agencies locally in specific, like OKI, who does similar things? And I know some Snake River Forestry maps all the tree canopies.
Yeah, so a lot of times we will partner with them. We have one person who also then has 2 interns every year to do most of our work from there, but she'll pull from like OKI. And we also, because we're a national network, we also get a lot of our information. I was saying before that our goal is to have this be a like national mapping eventually. We also work with NOAA a lot, and they also have a really good GIS program.
It'd be great if you could share that information back with OKI so they can include it in their mapping.
Yeah, I think that is a process, but I will look into that as well, because I agree. There's also a group that I cannot remember the name of, but they do mapping on community disparities in Cincinnati specifically, and I've been trying to get us to like connect because their mapping is all hand drawn, and I think Tiffany would do a really good job of like making that virtual, and then we would be able to use that research as well to support like policy change. Yes.
Has there been any contact or relationship with Evanston?
I believe that there has, but I would need to look into that further. I'm not sure what year they worked in there, but I think that there is a, like, I believe in the office, there is a poster that has Evanston in there. So there was a community plan put into place, and I'm not sure where they're at with that plan. Yes.
Yeah, piggybacking on those questions about the communities, is it all, like you guys are reaching out to Covington specifically because you saw a need, there wasn't anyone already on your team. Is there already like a known list of areas where you know that there's a need? I mean, I wonder about my neighborhood then. We're in Walnut Hills, East Walnut Hills.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of the times we're looking at like some of, yes. So there's research already out there that says like this community is one of the more like air quality is really lacking, and so we need to be working in that space. Or I believe with Covington, it was focusing on like tree canopy. So a lot of what we focus on is tree canopy because all the research that backs it up allows us to get funding to plant trees. So just having those like hotter areas in Cincinnati, those are like the targeted communities that we try to help with the most.
Are there any, so there's plans for neighborhoods, but are there any plans that you work on that are for parks?
So we partner with different parks. So we've partnered with Cincinnati Parks and Great Parks, and we work on like invasive species removal, sorry. And we also work, like our green teams are the ones that are implementing those things. So they are partnered with individuals from those organizations that kind of give them the job experience, but they're also like working on projects that they're already working on. So like removing honeysuckle is a big one in our parks, unfortunately. And that's where they're stationed at the most, is probably removing honeysuckle. Like I'm on the board for Western Wildlife Corridor, and we've hired Groundwork, which now I'm like, this is a conflict of interest, but we've hired Groundwork several times to clear out honeysuckle in our preserves. And that's been a really positive change as well, especially because, I mean, there's lots of reasons, but I really, like, my favorite is to watch like a green teamer who's just removed like honeysuckle for 3 days straight, walk down the street and be like, oh, Miss Sarah, like that's honeysuckle, and they can identify the different plants. So it's like continued education. I don't know if that answered your question, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was just thinking if parks have plans and, I mean, citizens want to get involved from all over in the plan for the park somehow, that would be an opportunity aside from just working in their neighborhood.
Yeah, I would say like if there is a plan for the parks and they would like our help, we already have an established like relationship. So we're always like, what can the kids be involved in, or what can our Green Corps be involved in when you're doing this plan? A lot of the parks are also really great about sending us future job descriptions where they can apply to work there, and then they also can apply to, like our Green Corps can apply to do the specific jobs. Like I know Great Parks is going through a whole, and I'm saying this from like personal experience because I worked for them, but they're going through a whole revamp of all of their parks, and there's like you can send in a quote to like work in a certain amount of parks to like either get rid of invasive species or plant trees or plant pollinator gardens. So we're kind of involved in that, but we wait for them to come to us because at this point we do have a really good like positive connection with all of them. Yes.
So you commented that you were been around about 5 years. Do you happen to know like why this was started or what the motivation was to start this organization?
Yeah, so Groundwork USA, I cannot remember the date, but I think it was 1992 when it was founded. And the initial, I would say the environmental justice movement was coined as environmental justice in 1980. And over that period of time with the Environmental Protection Agency, they wanted to have people coming out to the national parks to do service work, and through that, that's kind of how Groundwork formed. It was through the EPA and the National Park Service, which is why we're still connected to the national parks. We're still sending kids out to work at Yellowstone, because it originally started as a need for people to care and be involved in the national parks. Yes.
Thank you for making our city more livable.
Thank you. That is not on you, that is all on you. Yes.
I wonder in the climate safe neighborhoods, or when you have the kids coming from a neighborhood that perhaps has had a lot of industrial pollution, or perhaps some companies will abandon the factory and left it to rot in the community. What do the kids say about that? And do they start to feel like, why, do they ask questions? Why was our community left like this? Why did XYZ company leave a crumbling factory that's full of rats and drug dealers? And why is our neighborhood treated like this? I'm just wondering what the kids, they have to see it. I know they're asking questions. I'm wondering what they say about it.
Yeah, that makes me think of when so my whole relationship with Groundwork goes back for the 5 years. I partnered with them for so many things in the neighborhood. And that makes me think of when I was hosting one of our green teams, and I was teaching them archery. So we had an archery range in West Lawn. And they, it was their first time doing archery, and they were like, wow, how come we have never even heard of this as something that we could do before? And we talk about how just a lot of those questions do come up, where why were we left behind is the most common question. Or why do my parents have to deal with this, or why have they dealt with this their entire lives, and why can't we move? A lot of times I feel like it helps with the change, because we are able to have those conversations, and then also show them how policy has changed things for the better, and eventually it can lead to more positive change. Those conversations are really hard, but they're necessary, and I think just being honest, I remember also there's an 11-year-old who was asking me about redlining, which is a very complicated subject for that age, I think, but they still understand, and they still understand that was an institutionalized way to keep people stuck in a place where they were subjected to those things. But that same kid came with me to every community council meeting after that. So it eventually fosters that change within the kids.
I understand you would help communities by community planning. Do you ever respond to a need for help in regard to a threatened project that will make the community even worse?
Yes, in certain ways. I'm trying to think of an actual example. We're mostly we encourage kids to protest and use their voice, but also we want to keep them safe, right? So in terms of community advocacy, we advise them on safety first, but there's been times where there were developers that came in that didn't have the community in mind. They didn't live in Cincinnati. They were just coming in to buy a cheap property and then turn it into like really expensive living when the people in that neighborhood they can't afford that. So it's like gentrification, right? We encourage them to go to their community councils to like fight that, and then also city council. Sometimes people just have too much money and things happen, but our whole goal is hope, and really just trying to educate people on like the power that they have. There's not a specific instance that I'm thinking of besides developers, and when I think about there's one industrial place that like was dumping stuff onto land, but the community came together, reported them, and they did a civil suit on that person, and the company were able to win back that money, or win money, and when they were able to pay for the cleanup. Sorry, but yeah, that's always complicated, and it's hard to keep track of all of those things, but if something gets brought to our attention and we are able to help, we would want to. That more, I think, goes to the city of Cincinnati than to us. Like, community members would go to them before coming to Groundwork, I think. Yeah.
Do you rely on multiple funding sources?
Yes, we rely on a lot of grants. I was just saying that I think we have like 25 grants that are open right now that we're trying to close. It's crazy. Like I said, I just started this position, and learning all the names and learning all of the different like funding companies, like, and where it all comes from and what we're required to do from them. It's a lot, and I'm still learning. So I'm looking like on a executive director level, I am looking to have like more private donors that are unrestricted funds, so that way we can be funding the youth without like the strings attached in terms of what projects we're working on.
Do you have that capability now for self-preservation?
Yes, yeah, we do have that ability, so if you or you know anyone, please let me know. What?
I was sending you up there.
Oh. Yes, we do. You can donate actually on this QR code. It tells you basically what my PowerPoint told you, but that's our donate button, and then we also do fundraising, so I'm looking into other modes of fundraising. One that I'm very excited for is called a meat raffle at Binsky's Bar, where they get a whole bunch of cuts of meat, and then you can buy a raffle ticket, and you can win a cut of meat. And you just are in the bar chanting meat over and over again until you win. So if that interests you, we'll be posting that on our social media page.
Out of curiosity, obviously you have a lot of, I'm assuming all of the youth are officially employed, but do you have opportunities for youth to simply volunteer with Groundwork?
Yes.
Or like one time, maybe multiple times, but just like even a one-time event?
Yeah, so they're officially like employed, they're covered by our insurance. I'm really proud to say that we pay them $18 an hour as a 16-year-old. I love that. I don't think I started making $18 an hour until I was like 24. So that's crazy. But we do allow them to volunteer for like our bigger community days. And we are trying right now, one of our goals is to create a roster of people who've gone through our program to track where they are currently, and or if they want to get involved again. So we want to send out emails to be like, hey, if you want to come back for like the street planting day or a trail building or cleanup day, you can come volunteer.
So I work in a high school setting, and I'm just thinking in terms of like, our students getting involved in all sorts of community service. so without having been an employee of Groundwork, could students at my school reach out and say, hey, we would like to help if you've got any big project days that you need a couple extra hands, can we sign up to help?
Yes,
Have
yes.
you ever done anything?
Yeah, of course. We love having groups to volunteer with. So like, we just did Sailor Park. A group of high schoolers at Sailor Park did a tree planting with some of our Green Corps members. So that is available too. My email is right there if you want to reach out.
Are you connected with co-op and internship programs of local universities and service learning also?
Trying to be. That is a goal as well. Because I think we could really use. I think at this point of how fast we've grown, we could really use the help. And I think a lot of interns and co-op opportunities would be like perfect for this, especially as an introduction to this work.
One more question.
Yes, it's fine.
I'll ask it. Coming from a faith community perspective, what role do you see faith communities playing in this larger movement you're talking about?
So the question was, what role do you see faith communities playing in this work? Right? I really think that this work is for everyone. Climate change affects everyone. It is crucial that we are all working together for the common goal of just having our basic human rights, food, water, shelter, right? And I think the faith community is strong, and there already is a sense of community in that. And so to have, like, specifically with Groundwork, if you all were wanting to come volunteer with us, that's so powerful. But if you were to start working in other neighborhoods that you live in, you're able to have that impact as well. So I would just encourage you to get involved. Like I said, there are ways that you don't have to talk to people. If that's not your thing. And it makes people really nervous sometimes, so I always want to be mindful of that. Yeah.
Let's thank Sarah one more time. Good work.
Thank you so much for having me out. I enjoyed my time. I'll be hanging around afterwards too, so if you want to talk to me.
Thank you for your leadership, for the good and holy work that Groundwork's doing. Thank you. I had a few wrap-up things to cover. If you're a planner, we are starting to think about our Embracing God's Creation series for the spring. We do have February 27th, way ahead, an ecumenical liturgy of lament that we're going to be hosting, part of the Bereavement Center's Eco-Grief series that they have going through the year. If this worked correctly, there will be a recording of this presentation, so please do share it with others. It'll be on the Bellarmine YouTube page. And then donations, QR codes there, there's one in the back. There's also a basket there if you want to put any cash in. We've been collecting for Groundwork since October, so we're going to keep going through the rest of the year. And the last thing, if you didn't get any cookies, drinks on the way in, they are there, so feel free to stick around, mingle, come up and ask Sarah questions. It's really good to be with all of you. Thank you. Let me stop this.
Did it last?